All right, good morning, good evening, good night. Welcome into the Nifty Q Show. I'm interviewing founders, leaders, and awesome builders in the NFT industry. Today, I'm sitting with Gabe and Jason from Bitlectro Labs to discuss the ongoing NFT LA event, tips on spotting the best communities in the space, hosting IRL versus Metaverse events, their upcoming VX release, and much more. Gabe and Jason, my friends, how are you doing today? Thanks for taking a break.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. We're great, man. In sunny LA, it was raining here on Monday, but it's beautiful, right?
Yeah, we
Looking
got some viewers in
forward.
the house too, who would love to see the merch that you guys are picking up at NFT LA. Man, you were showing me
Whoa!
pre-episode.
There's too much. I'm wearing. Okay, we'll start low. We're wearing the Dippies. We're wearing the Dippies tee to start from yesterday's
I
event,
got
which was dope.
I got this guy. It's got a MetaMask fox on it, which is great. NFT
So
LA.
that's from Consensus,
Yes.
right? So that's from because they were a part of our event last night, which was fun.
Do you
And
have a
then
pizza T-shirt here?
I don't have
It's
one
in my
here.
car.
And
It's
then
my car. It's
this
okay.
is the new like the Subducks Megavolt one. So you got the front, and in the back, it's like a collab with 6 or 8 other projects. So this was expensive, which I'll just close an eye. I just won't look at the bank statement. It's
Exactly.
fine. It's
Exactly.
fine. You know.
We have some great NFT LA pizza party shirts from last night's party. It literally just says NFT LA and then has a slice of pizza. Those are dope. But I left them in my car this morning. I just got random stickers, guys. Okay, shout out to Strawberry. Shout out to this random ape that gave my wife this sticker. Apparently, hash
And
society sticker.
how are your
Yeah.
significant others holding up as we like continue? You're on day 3 of 5. You told me.
I don't know where Jason's significant other
So,
is. I haven't seen her. I'm just
Marielle's still sleeping. It's so funny. She like when she met Gabe last night, it was the first time they've ever met in person. Marielle comes up to me afterwards. She goes, Gabe gave me a hug, and she goes, I'm sorry I take so much of Jason's time. And she's like, it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
think that's so good. She's good. She's a trooper. She's exhausted. Like yesterday was a lot of events, including our own, and then I think your significant other is probably feeling the same.
She's in the other room,
Yeah.
but yeah, she's good. Um, yeah, she was. I got to the party late because my flight was delayed, so she helped set up the event last night, which was
Very, very
crucial.
cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. So a lot of people at home, all the listeners at home are kind of feeling the FOMO right now. I met Gabe and Jason in NFT.NYC, and those like IRL meetings of people who you've just connected with via like Discord or something like that. Those are like some of the best hugs I've ever had in my freaking life. Uh, but I'm gonna steer the conversation into events. You guys do a wonderful job hosting both IRL. You guys host Metaverse events. You host Spaces events. We're going to talk a lot about that. You guys are building a lot with Dream Loops, so we're going to have that discussion as well. But before we get there, just intro yourselves for people who might not know who Bitlectro Labs is. If you don't know Gabe and Jason, they're awesome people. What they're building is amazing. But let's get the self introduction here.
Yeah. So I'm Gabe, Bitlectro Labs, co-founder. Bitlectro Labs does a ton of things. We've been around in the space for what seems like ages, even though technically it's only been a year. But launched 2 collections, Dream Loops and Dreamers, both audio visual focused. They are audio slash, well, one's a PFP collection with music, the other is sort of a random scenes collection with music. We released an album for that first one, and then next week we're launching a VX collection that is a 3D version of our 2D profile pic collection. I think we're the first to produce a full at scale one-to-one recreation in box slice format of the PFP. So I know the Sandbox is going to do a lot of that for other teams, but we produced ours in house, so that's dropping on April 9th. Yeah. And this is Jason.
And I'm Jason. Yeah, my name is Jason Verners. I run head of outreach here at Bitlectro Labs. Basically, I set up conversations like the one we're having right now. I worked with Tigbo to make today's conversation happen with you today, Q, which we really appreciate. And then, yeah, my job's basically just to be the connector of all things creative. So meeting lots of people, setting up spaces, interviews, collabs, everything like that. I'm your guy for that. So
Yeah, no magic tricks today, but Jason is also a really good magician there, and I've seen it in person. So definitely, I want to give my word here. But I do want to talk really quick about your background as it's related to maybe the NFT space. Did I lose him? Oh no, guys, we're gonna give him 30 seconds here.
Oh, yeah, use camera. Okay.
Did we lose him?
Oh no. Uh-oh, we're having some fidelity issues.
Are we back?
Yeah, we're back. Go ahead.
That hotel.
Okay, we're back.
Uh-oh, we'll see if we caught all of this.
Okay,
That's okay. We can skip the magic tricks. I was going to do one and then we lost
Do
it.
one part. Do one.
Oscillate.
We'll
No,
end
it's
with
okay.
it. Maybe we'll end with it.
Yeah, okay. We'll come back to that. Good save, everyone. Lightning round, guys. Gabe, I had you on my other podcast before it was rebranded to the Nifty Q Show. So we talked a little bit about your background, but if you could give like a lightning answer here, both of you, to how you kind of found yourself in the NFT space and maybe the crypto space in general.
Yeah, I came to crypto in 2013. I was reading articles on Wired magazine about the darknet and thought, like, what's the payment method here? Saw Bitcoin, bought my first Bitcoin via money transfer to a weird, sketchy exchange at the time. It was called Camp BX, I think was the exchange. Anyway, fast forward 3 years, 2016, launched my first crypto company during an early ICO. This was like predating the ICO craze, right, of 2017, 2018. Raised some money there, built some cool apps. We were doing payment processing for the cannabis industry. And in fact, that company still exists and is servicing an RFP in Nevada for cannabis payment processing, which is interesting. And then through that, we actually left that company early 2020, right before the pandemic hit. Fast forward a year, and like Jason actually brings NFTs back to my awareness. He calls me one day and says, I have a CryptoPunk. Show me how to sell this. I said, what's a CryptoPunk? He says, it's an NFT. I said, oh, like CryptoKitties that clogged the Ethereum network back in 2018. And I was like, so that anyway, Jason can take over from there. But that was my reintroduction to NFTs. And then we started building stuff a few months later.
Jason, you had a CryptoPunk?
Yeah.
I had a CryptoPunk that I paid $26 for back in the day.
Yeah.
So
OG CryptoPunk holder.
It was a journey. I got into crypto back, similar story where it was like the dark web and things like that. I was in middle school. I wasn't a good kid necessarily and had like a Tor browser. So I started learning what it was, didn't purchase any, but learning. And then through just conversations with friends and things like that and being on tour as a magician in hotels and things like that were always in weird cities, I'd be bored at night. So I started learning like, how can I spend $50 worth of Ethereum? Like, what can I do with it? So I ended up buying a lot of CryptoKitties, a lot of Creeps and Weirdos. I bought the Punk. I remember I bought one CryptoPunk and I thought that $28 was a lot of money for it at the time. So I only bought one, you know what I mean? And, I wish I bought them all at that time. You're right. Yeah. But it's a fun journey. So yeah, when I called Gabe about that, I was like, hadn't been working for really a year and a bit because of COVID and there were no shows happening. And $15,000 or whatever it was a lot of money at the time, and it I paid off my car, it was rent for a year or whatever, and that kind of is what birthed the ideas and the conversations of why we're here today, right? Yeah.
Can we get into a little piece that you maybe buried there? You were a traveling magician.
Yeah, so I'll demo a 2-second one as we're chatting here. So imagine for the viewers, this will be fun. We take a dreamer and it changes to another dreamer, right? We can do something like that. But so I've been traveling. Thank you, sir. I've been traveling as a magician for years, right? So I've been doing magic since I was a little boy, right? I was like 7 years old, so 3 weeks ago. And with that, it's just been years of like traveling. I was competing as a magician through my teens. I got third in the world championships. I'm like a national champion, essentially, close-up magic. So with that, I would tour and you would just be like in weird hotels in cold cities through the winter and had to have some other hobbies. And that's where this kind of came in.
That's awesome, man. All right. I appreciate that background for both of you. I want to jump back in real quick to the event conversation, specifically NFT LA. I know, Gabe, you were talking about this because the event in Vegas didn't get hosted by NFT Land, that this was like the first maybe event ever for NFTs on the West Coast. I don't know if that's actually true. Don't quote me on it, but how is the event going so far and what's great about it?
First big meetup, I'd say, right? Like we know a lot of people that do local West Coast stuff. I mean, there's even like an NFT Vegas group. Shout out to them. But this is the first big NFT West Coast conference, if I'm not mistaken, since like the boom in 2021. It's good so far. I kind of just got here yesterday, but Jason's been picking it up. But everywhere we go, like we go to a restaurant down the street, hotel lobby, I just hear NFT chatter everywhere. So it feels a lot like NFT NYC, where it was just filled with NFT people. It's been good and a different vibe, right? I feel like West Coast conferences have a very different sort of feel to them than East Coast ones. Not that there's any preference. It's just it's Cali vibes versus versus New York vibes, I suppose. But yeah, and we had an event last night. Did a pizza party. It was fun. It was earlier in the evening with we had Consensus NFT there. We had Hashku. We had Society Hourglass. The Chibis. And it was a good crew of DJs, giveaways. Free pizza and beer. Yeah. Jason did a ton of magic. It was a good event.
It was crazy. It was packed too. Like it was sold. Not only was it sold out, but like the line was a block long.
Yeah,
it was packed in the back. It was dope. Like it felt really good to host that. Frankly.
Yeah, good guess.
Now, are you guys doing anything? Are you guys doing anything to tie in like utility with this? Is this like a Hashku, Bitlectro, or like if you own the asset, that's the only way you can get in? How do you guys look at hosting these events with the NFTs?
We were gonna do something like that in Vegas. Like we had all these commitments from different teams. Like we were gonna do crazy blended like Metaverse / IRL event in Vegas. Like we had a film crew ready to go and the like. And then NFT Land got canceled. But no, so this was sort of last minute. Like, all right, we need to have a presence here. Let's put something together, even though we'd already committed a whole bunch of time to a Vegas event. So this was stood up in relatively short order. No, but we are looking to do something like that in NYC. I still have aspirations of doing a blended Metaverse / IRL event, specifically where we're taking like some of the entertainment components from the physical venue, piping that into the Metaverse space. I'd love to do some token gated stuff, for our holders specifically. Still looking at what that looks like. Oh, that's something we've been talking about. We might do a scavenger hunt in NYC.
Yeah.
And we might do an augmented reality scavenger hunt. So there's likely to be an AR component to the Dreamers VX that we haven't announced yet. So that's coming out April 9th. Whether or not the AR component is going to launch on the same day, we're not quite sure yet. It should be close. But then we're thinking, we're doing all this exploratory AR sort of research for this. We might do something that's for our holders and maybe some other communities as well, where you're roaming New York looking for AR creatures that we embed.
What's really cool about it is like every city that we go to, we're finding that there's people from our community there, whether it be, you had a meetup in Vegas, myself when we were in Denver, there's people coming up and they're like, yo, I'm a dreamer, I'm a big fan. And it's really nice to hear that because, you're often just in the mix of it all. So to hear that people really love what we're doing, I think we want to continue to kind of give back and do more of these things. We're used to giving out stickers to everyone who talks to us, right? But beyond that, let's take it one step further. The scavenger hunt's a great way to do that.
Yeah, there'll be a prize there too. There'll be a few prizes. That's the plan. I mean, that's not necessarily token integrated, but it is something we're trying to do for our community. Also to broaden our base. Like I think of a lot of the stuff we do. Like we know we're not the Bored Apes, we're not the cool cats or the doodles, but we are a respected community that's building cool stuff and delivering our roadmap items. So a lot of these events, whether they're Metaverse, IRL, and then we try to have a presence at every conference, even if it's just sending Jason out. It's like that opportunity to make one more true fan, to build a broad sort of community. Really sort of grassroots of like this is who we are. Like spend some time with us, check us out, and if you like our stuff, which most people do once they see it, then they end up being becoming a potential diehard. So that's sort of the impetus of a lot of the IRL stuff.
Yeah, it does feel like in Web3 people are looking for like the most efficient route to find users, and IRL stuff isn't really the most efficient. It takes a lot of coordination. No. It's a lot of work, a lot of time, but you end up getting those sticky users in a way.
Yeah. Ones that want to stay. Yeah, we had people that like took trains up from like San Diego just to come to the conference or come to our meetup, and got to meet a lot of people that I'd only seen online. Some of the DJs from our Metaverse events that like come and play sets every month, like showed up to the meetup. But yeah, I mean, there's something to that though. Like the FaceTime, you form that personal connection with someone. There's intimacy and then kinship, and now you have someone that's part of your extended community and network, and often a friend. And the same thing goes with our Metaverse events, right? Like those take time. Like when we stage those, it's like an all day plus extra days for marketing and coordination affair just to do one of these Metaverse events. But we make a lot of new connections through the outreach that we do every month in that metaverse parcel. And you obviously know LADZ City has been a part of that since almost inception, I'd say. You're sort of our media sponsor, co-host on all of those, which is great. And same sort of impetus applies. Like it's trying to make those connections, those one true fans, and build that army of people that are there and participating with what it is you're trying to build.
Yeah, before we get into the VX and what you're doing with Dream Loops specifically on like the technical side, I want to stay in the conversation about events because I feel like NFTs kind of came about in that COVID timeframe when we didn't get together that often. But now we're coming out of that. Now we're going to be able to do more. Is it going to be something where like people look at events in the future and say like you need to have events to be successful? Because I remember when Bored Apes were having all that stuff happen in NYC and people were saying, where's CryptoPunks? You know, like where are the punks at? They're not doing anything for their community. Is it going to be like that? Like, how are you guys thinking about events going forward?
I think so, to some degree. Whether or not you have a digital footprint with your events and you're doing them in the metaverse, or you're doing IRL stuff, there has to be some sort of interaction with your fan base, with your user base that isn't just based in Discord and Twitter. And I think like your juxtaposition of the punks versus the apes. So now we've got Yugo owning some of the IP, or at least rights to the IP with the Meebits and the punks. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with that, because remember when months ago when it was like, oh, when are the apes going to flip the punks? And eventually they did, and it just seemed like an inevitability because Larva wasn't doing anything from a marketing, community building, outreach standpoint, and the apes were. Even if it was so much of it was led by their users initially, they built a lot of this brand on the back of IRL meetups. Like I'd gone to Vegas ape meetups, and it was like just 20 of us, but that's real kinship and that's real visibility for your brand. I do think it's a requirement to some degree. Like it's at this point in a competitive ecosystem where everyone's launching 10,000 unit collections and trying to build a brand around it, it is not enough just to have a Discord server, because I can be a member, you can be a member, Jason can be a member of 100 different Discord servers. That doesn't mean you're engaging just because someone's in your channel because they wanted a pre-sale spot, for example. So how do you retain that user? How do you keep them engaged? Well, events are a great way to do it. You appeal to them aesthetically, auditorily, music. You find co-sponsors and co-hosts that also are in line with their interests. We do tons of guests and rotating people that we put on our metaverse events. And then, of course, the IRL one, especially given how capitalized some of these teams are. Like, if you just sold a couple $1 million worth of NFTs, like, you can afford to put some of that money back into IRL events. And I do think that's a real way to engage. Not to mention, they're good for your brand and network. Like, you can find people to potentially collaborate with. I do think, I don't know that it's absolutely required, especially in a digital space, but if you are trying to punch through the noise, having a physical presence at real world events is certainly a good way to do that.
And it also digs the like knife in deeper of you being a fan, right? Like I was walking the conference floor this morning and there's Frankie Nines from Subducks, and I'm like, oh my god, like this is so cool. So you can be a fan, and it's like meeting someone that maybe you're used to just seeing online or seeing their face on interviews like this, and to kind of see beyond that avatar or something like that and have a real conversation. I think it, like we keep saying, creates a true fan, and that's super cool. Right?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. But we do need to talk about as well the metaverse portion of this, right? Like we were talking about IRL events, but you guys are even talking about mixing the two. I think I saw the word metaverse portal out there. So how are you guys thinking of like the combination between the two? I know you've set up like the visual camera where the metaverse users can see inside the party and vice versa. Like what do you guys think about mixing both of those at your events?
Yeah, that's the intention. There's obviously a hard cost with all of that, but we've been consistent with metaverse events since June of last year, so we're almost, holy smoke. So come this May, we'll have done one monthly big metaverse event every month since we launched Dream Loops back in June of 2021. And I would love it if we could do at least twice yearly blended IRL metaverse events. And I think, so the play there is like you have entertainment and you're simulcasting your entertainment to the metaverse, but also for your for your IRL guests, and people can choose to participate any which way they want or both. And then you can also pipe in some of the metaverse world into your physical event. So the event that we were staging in Vegas had like every room was projector map. It was like the perfect venue for what I was going to do. And so you could take individual clients and say crypto voxels. Someone's going to steal this idea as like exactly how to do it. You can take individual clients and crypto boxes and then just take that and projector map it to a wall, and someone get a 3D representation of the space. Live video crew, wireless camera feed, send that in. You upload that to multiple, say, private YouTube live streams, embed those into the metaverse space, and then you've got this blended experience. And it's some of it's a novelty, right? Like it's not like everyone that shows up to the physical party gives a shit about what's going on in the metaverse. Because I know like even people that are diehard Web3 people, some of them think like, oh, well, I've been in Decentraland, I've been in crypto voxels, they're clunky, I don't really mess with it. But then we have people that show up every month for these metaverse parties, and they're just like all about it, and they'll hang out for 4 hours. So mileage may vary. That being said, we've got, Jason can't talk about who, but we've got big brands and big artists that are talking to Bitlectro about us hosting them in our metaverse parcel and actually consulting with them to host their own events. So there are big legacy businesses that are taking an interest in this type of thing. And so I think we're sort of front runners of it, if you will. That doesn't mean that we're going to be the big winners necessarily, but it means someone's taking it. Yeah.
Yeah, what's the draw for those big companies? Like, what is the main reason why you think they're reaching out to you now? Do they see the success you've had with the metaverse parties, or like the photos of everybody in there now coming to fruition a little bit?
I think, yeah, and it bridges from like why something like Roblox is really cool, or why something like Minecraft, right? Because people are used to Fortnite events being really popular and everyone going into that. So to have a decentralized version of that excites people, like it's like they've heard the inklings, is the way I would describe it, right? Is we're having all these conversations with these brands, and they're like, we've heard so much, and we've heard you're the guys for that, which is a really good feeling, right? So we have to educate them a little bit on like the process of it, but once they learn that it's not too difficult, they kind of want to dive in even more.
I had a conversation at our event last night. There was someone that was representing the VC arm of Anheuser-Busch, so who obviously the Budweiser did their NFT launch, and she was explaining like that they're exploring Web3 and metaverse stuff for the community aspect. Like they're trying to find ways to have digital gathering spaces around their brands. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Like, well, first of all, like a lot of cues from Web3, right? You've got Discord, which becomes this de facto internet gathering space for so many of these communities. Not sure that like Budweiser wants to maintain the Budweiser NFT Discord or Web3 Discord. Maybe they already have that. I don't even know if they have a Discord for the drop, for example. But they're looking for other ways to take artists or even like paid sponsored musician performances, for example, and then use those as activations for their brand where there's interactivity between their user base. So Web3, despite the fact that a lot of the technology we're using for this stuff maybe could have been done in Web2, but suddenly like NFTs and all of the Web3 accoutrements are sort of enabling this to actually get a foothold. Now legacy brands are taking an interest, which they should be, obviously.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys have success with that metaverse event. I saw Rizzle tweeted like maybe 2 weeks ago about everybody kind of like metaverse being this big buzzword, and that everyone, just like you said, Anheuser-Busch wants to get in the metaverse, Facebook rebranding to Meta, and really at the root of it, there's only like probably 2,000 people that interact in what we would call a visual metaverse. I mean, how many people go in Crypto Voxels, Decentraland, and Sandbox? That's it. In a real user-owned metaverse, there's not that many people actually doing it.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, that's an interesting point. So like we track our traffic, like it will routinely be like when we throw a party, we'll be like the top visited parcel that day, for example. But even then, it's like the numbers aren't staggering, right?
It's like a couple thousand.
Yeah, it's a few thousand users, which for Web3 is a lot, right?
Yeah, people get impressed by that.
Yeah, exactly. But like in conventional like legacy marketing or e-commerce leads and the like those aren't a lot. It's not a lot of impressions, right? That being said, like those fans are diehards. Yeah, and like the platforms are crude, right? I mean, I know like Sandbox Alpha I think closed yesterday. Sandbox is getting real slick. But in the meantime, we've got a couple functioning metaverses that you can do stuff with. But yeah, like everyone's talking about it. Very few people are actually utilizing it, and it's like I count on one hand like the other teams that do regular metaverse stuff. Like who were we talking to on Tuesday? Fractillions that does Decentraland reporting, and she's got like a really interesting thing where she's made like a whole, she's become a media personality out of metaverse journalism. You should talk to her, Q. She might be interested in addition for LADZ as well. And I thought like that's such a nascent and emerging thing. Like eventually there's going to be more metaverse reporters or more reporters or journalists using that as a platform for live streaming, but it is still so early in terms of user adoption. Everyone loves to say we're early, but I mean, this is really early in terms of user base. It's still,
absolutely,
digits, right? Like less than 100,000 users. So, yeah.
And to Jason's point as well, like with Roblox, like most people think the metaverse is still that Web 2 version of the metaverse, right? Like Fortnite, people are watching concerts in there. That's the metaverse they're thinking about. They don't truly understand that kind of Web 3 ownership. So, guys, I want to give you an opportunity here to. Oh, you got something? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to add to that. Like, it's because a lot of the stuff we're doing in metaverses too isn't necessarily new, right? Like MMOs, online games in general. So whether it's Roblox, World of Warcraft, even like proto MMOs like Ultima Online from the late 90s, like those had metaverse components, right? But you didn't still have that same sense of ownership and identity like people do in current metaverses. It's the Web3 gating that makes it sort of viable as a product, as it seems to be. So anyway.
I love that insight, man. One of the reasons I wanted to have you guys on today, and I'll have you guys on whenever you want, because you guys truly are building like an authentic community. We talked about it already, but you also have this like wide network, right, of other communities that you guys want to be partnered with. So if you guys like take this time while we're kind of halfway through the episode, shout out any communities that you think are doing this well, specifically from like an event side. I think Jason was mentioning. Go ahead.
No, I just shouted you guys. I just shouted out LADZ City. Go ahead, Jason.
Like the homies, like I'd say like we really like John, Aiden, and the whole team, Sophia over at the Hearts Project. Like they're doing a great job with the IRL events. They came out last night, which was really nice of them as well. We're going out to them tomorrow night. Tonight is Warp Sounds. That's Jeff and all them over with Warps. They're doing a great job. I'm trying to think who else. There's so many communities that like yesterday stopping by the Dippies event and meeting Sal who runs their team. It's like, meeting these founders who are comfortable being front facing and to have the conversations and should just entertain the starting conversation of something that could be something is really cool. Just being like, would love to connect. I know not right now is the time, but we should do something. And then for them to be like, let's talk is really nice.
Yeah, definitely Warps is the front runner, as is Hearts. If we're talking on specifically on IRL events, those are definitely teams to watch. In terms of I was
the hundreds too.
Hundreds is very good. Yeah. We're trying to do more stuff with the Hash Coop crew and Society of the Hourglass as well. And I know they have ambitions of having more real world activations. Also, their community, while small, is hyper engaged. Like they do these storytelling workshops. I can see them having a lot of real interesting real world conversions from what's going on with the community right now in the online space. We're trying to partner with them on what's just a good team with a good head on their shoulders, frankly.
Yeah, good dudes as well.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. This is that's kind of like a funny thing. This is an aside. Like, we know there's a lot of bad actors in this space. We know not all teams are doxxed. It's curious the ones that like they'll give you no's on IRL stuff. Why? Because they're not out there, and it's like it's going to become a requirement for all teams to be doxxed in public. And then the ones that can't do the IRL events, like, well, why can't you? It's like, because you've launched 6 projects in a guerrilla fashion and you can't show your face to the world. So it's just something I'm thinking about. But
it's like what a Twitter check mark should be, right? It's that like badge, like we host IRL events. It kind of authenticates you in a way. That's a good way to put it, man. Right. I like that. I want to give a quick shout out to Nifty Castle here in the crowd. They are here, and Lola Menthol and Natalie Crew are 2 women who create content within LADZ City and in our channel. How is the like ratio out there in LA between men and women? Because I know that's a big thing to be talked about in crypto, is how do we get more people and more females in particular into the space?
It is better here than it was in NFT.NYC. I was thinking about the event last night. Like, yeah, we had man, a lot of the heavy hitters I talked to last night were women from teams.
Like half of the consensus crew
half
was at least women. They sent us all photos, and it was fantastic.
It's good. The ratio is becoming more akin to what you'd like to see, 50-50. I don't think I still don't think we're there yet. But I think it's improving. It's improving awesome. Drastically, which is great. But it's and it's almost never, we know inequity of like starting spots, right, and the way we enculturate people into different lifestyles and career paths. But we're always fighting that. That's an uphill battle, but it does seem to be improving.
It's also amazing finding these amazing like powerful women creators within the space. Like even just the Twitter space that we hosted this Tuesday was to celebrate Women's History Month, and that was like a women-focused panel, and it was fantastic. It was probably one of the best conversations we've ever had on our topical
and
Tuesday.
The conversation wasn't even women folks. We were just platforming women creators in the space, and we had some were media personalities, some were engineers, some were artists, and it was like obviously no surprise, like the quality of content was incredible. So
that's awesome. I mean, in order to be, I guess when I say minority here, I mean like the smaller percentage, right? Like if you have women in the space, they're gonna have to be that much better to compete with men in this environment. Not to get personal, but my mother was in the military, and to compete with men in that environment, she needed to be almost twice as good. So a lot of the times whenever you're going to see, females are speaking and they're creating stuff, it's like better than the men some of the times and most of the time.
Like combating like institutional sexism, and it's just been ingrained in these spaces, and it's like, and you have to show up and kick ass, and it's
even look at a team like Sprightly. Like Kimberly on that team is like dynamite.
She's
like
a killer.
Dynamite. It is.
Yeah. Strong engineer too, and
dope.
We'd be lucky
like a killer. So
who's this again? Just one last. Who was it?
Sprightly. I don't know if you know the project, but Kimberly over at Sprightly. Also, it's beautiful illustration. Like we're we do pixel art, and we're snobs of pixel art. I consume and collect a lot of it myself, and her work is just really good. And she's also doing engineering.
So we're halfway through the episode here. I have one last question about events, and then we'll kind of move into what you guys are building with Dream Loops and kind of your experience there. Last question for the event side. We've been at NFT.NYC. You've now been out to LA. You've seen these events. What would you do differently maybe than what NFT.NYC did? Like if you were hosting the event, what are these events not thinking about, or these event coordinators not thinking about when they're hosting these events? Or are they perfect?
I have a lot of critiques.
Let me open up my notes here. Let me just roll out.
I would say so.
There's a lot.
A few things. So the talks are bad. I'll just say this, like, and not everyone. There are some good panelists, but then sometimes you go to like it was like this when I was doing crypto conferences too, and so many of the talks just become just advertising panels for the product. And I get it, like you're there to sell your product, but like drop some insight. Like people spend a lot of money on tickets, right? Like what I don't know what these $400 or $500 bucks, $1,000 now. And it's like I better be learning some shit, like because you can show up in LA and not go to the conference and just go to the satellite events and network your ass off, and it's worth the trip. But if I'm going to spend money at this conference, like what am I getting for it? And for me, it's like I want a little mini education. I want to feel like I went to a workshop, like I learned some insights I wouldn't have got had I not gone. And like one of our team members went to one of the talks yesterday, and he was like, man, it was just the same. It was just shilly, and it was like 6 buzzwords over and over. Like the speaker wasn't saying anything, but saying so much at the same time. Like it was just word salad. I felt like that in a lot of the NYC talks as well. There were some workshops that were really good. Like I found like the engineering stuff was really good. Like when they get down, they're like demoing their tech stack. I'm like, okay, this is quality. Like I have an expert to build something that's showing me what we built and how to use it. I feel like the approach to booking guests should be more curatorial. Like there needs to be a filter there. Like they need to not just say yes, yes, and yes. You're like, oh, your project has 40,000 Twitter followers, we'll put you on. Like, how about you have them like submit a deck and like give you like a little sample of what it is that they're going to do. It would also be nice, and this was a problem at NYC. This one is a little better because some people started aggregating like events. Like there's the master sheet of like satellite events.
Yeah.
It's tricky to know everything that's going on. So the community is getting good at like aggregating themselves, but that doesn't mean that the event hosts are like aggregating it for you. They should be doing that. It should be easier. LA is always a pain in the ass because you're going through a million spaces. Like you're traveling 30, 40 minutes to get, 3 miles in LA. NYC was like the opposite, where it's easy to get around, but then you go to a venue and then the capacity is only 50 people. So then you're like stuck waiting in line. So it's like, I was excited about a Vegas event because Vegas is conference city. Like we do CES, we used to do Comdex, we do SEMA. I mean, there's 5 trade shows a month, but probably more really. And like, centers. And it's like, and it's like trams to get through, super easy foot traffic. Like it's like there needs to be a real good NFT conference in Vegas because it's so easy and fluid, and it's just so organized and easy to get around. So like a lot of it's logistic, a lot of it's like quality of speakers, but ultimately, like they're great networking. They're great places for brand visibility. They're great places to meet other people in the space. Whether you're a collector, creator, investor, like
it's all here. 75% of our good collaborations between the Bitlectro stuff has come from an IRL relationship. Right, like for sure.
Absolutely.
And it's getting deeper now, right? As we become closer with these people, it's like it's opening up doors for more teams and additional things as well. So it's like we use this term like homies helping homies, and it really is that case.
Yes. Right. Put a face to it. I'll do some stuff with you.
Yeah.
Your point about digging deeper with IRL events is so important too, because it like ties you together with that partner a little bit more. Like I feel like I know you guys way better because I met you in person. Nifty Castle's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I want to keep doing stuff with you.
Yeah.
He's a good dude. You get a better sense of the person. And that's definitely the case, which is also why we're sad you're not over here hanging out with us. So, we'll catch you in the next.
Yeah, I'm feeling the FOMO big time, guys. So let's move on quickly before it gets too crazy. Appreciate those insights too, man. I think the curation piece there is so important. They had people who were either from the space. It feels like they're not even from the space. They're just giving out handouts to whoever says they're an NFT influencer almost, or some type of builder or founder, and it's terrible. So I echo those thoughts. Guys, this is the Nifty Q Show. We're interviewing founders, leaders, builders in the NFT space. I'm sitting here with Bitlectro Labs. We are going to talk Bitlectro Labs and Dreamers now. We might as well. It's 30 minutes into the episode. So tell me a little bit about the project origin real quick, and then what you guys are up to today.
I'm going to grab a prop here from my bag.
Oh, I don't know what he's grabbing.
Another magic trick.
Oh, another one. Okay, we'll do another one for you, Q. For the visual listeners at home, we'll get rid of that dreamer. Did you see it vanish, Q? You're welcome, good sir.
So on the project background, I love it. Yes, we have a magician here. I can't even speak. So I'm talking about music. So we are music focused to a degree. We're building a number of things. We're kind of all over the place, but there's music to both of our collections. We got the Dream Loops. This is it's actually the liner notes. It doesn't have a vinyl in it, but we released a physical album, dropped January. Still shipping those to holders. Like people redeem them every week, and we get them fulfilled. And then we did a profile picture collection, which was Dreamers. It's on my business cards actually, so you get a little sense of them as Jason uses them for magic tricks. But anyway, so Dreamers was the 2D profile pic collection that we launched with a pretty substantial roadmap. Like we were like, what cool stuff can we build? If we hit these sales targets, and now we're delivering. So the second album from Bitlectro will be a Dreamers album with music from the Dreamers. And for those that don't know, like it's like got all these collaborations from musicians on the polyvinyl label, and they are full arrangements. Like the Dream Loops were just these little 30-second chiptune loops, but these are like full featured songs that you can only,
like a secret album.
Yeah, you can only get them on the album. We did a listening party in our metaverse, and like all these people showed up to listen, and I said, all right, that's it. Like, we're not releasing these digitally. You have the dream loops, but if you want to hear the full album cuts, you have to own the physical. So we're going to do that again for the Dreamers. And then our next big roadmap item that comes out April 9th is the Dreamers VX. So we are a sandbox partner. We have an estate, forget the coordinates, but we have a 3x3 estate at Bitlectro Labs. And we've been talking to the team. We said, we're going to do a VX collection. And they said, well, we're building some automated tools so that teams can, in a sort of automated generative fashion, produce sandbox avatars, or you can do it yourselves. And we're like, okay, we're just going to build them ourselves. So we got to work. I say Keel got to work more so than me, our co-founder and art director. He built 15,000 one-to-one representations of the actual Dreamers characters. So that's dropping as a free airdrop to all. Yeah, and they're all voxelized. So, and like, it's first started by him like hand drawing every trait, and then we started scripting the combination. So we're producing one-to-one recreation. So if you own a Dreamer, which is the 2D collection, you get to claim the voxelized version on April 9th. It is, so the sandbox isn't out. They are rigged and mapped for sandbox. In fact, we have a couple local demos of Keel running around with the characters in the sandbox. There's likely to be an AR feature to them that I'm not going to spoil yet, because the AR feature may launch with the collection. It might launch a little bit after the collection.
But it's crazy.
It works. It works. We've been demoing
it. So sick.
And then the final intent there is obviously to use the characters as playable avatars in the sandbox once that's live. So that's like our next big thing. And then the following large roadmap item is we're building sort of everyone refers to it as a game. I refer to it as a DeFi platform. It's gamified, but it's about as gamified as, say, like Obligati is. It's not playable, but it is sort of play to earn, right? So we're building we're calling it Dreamlands Battle Arena. And soon, very soon, we're going to have some trailers of what that's going to look like, including like what the UI UX is, which will spoil a lot of what the feature set is going to be. Looking at token integrations, not promising a native token yet, something we're still exploring. But there'll either be a native token component or an integration of a third-party token. We have some feelers out there for potentials, but either way, it'll be like NFT-gated experiences that you can do with your Dreamer, provably fair games of chance, battles, if you will, token staking, marketplace, all this cool stuff. So,
you can see how excited Gabe is for what they're building, because that was like 4 or 5 different things to unpack that we have to go back now and like we need to talk about these things. But the first thing, Gabe, like you mentioned, like you guys started with Dream Loops and this idea that you were going to be very like music and audio focused, and you said you still are. But how do you classify yourselves now? You know, like what is
tricky, right? Because like we thought at the beginning, we were like, we could be the art blocks for music NFTs, and then because Keel's got a deep network of musicians, I have a deep network of musicians, and then we like start putting the feelers out. We're like, hey, you guys want to do a music collection with us? And we're finding like there's so much aversion to NFTs. Like we had like friends that were crypto traders, NFT collectors, and they're like, oh, we'd love to, but we started like teasing that with our fans, and we got all this backlash on Twitter, all this backlash on Instagram. So we're not going to release our own NFTs, and we're like, shit. So like we're like rock and roll, like ready to go launch more collections around music, and we're finding all this aversion from these musicians that we want to work with. So we're like, all right, well, what else can we build? Like, well, I've got a deep background in crypto and building apps around cryptocurrencies, like a lot of payment stuff, frankly, but it's understanding smart contracts, understanding wallets, understanding how to launch a stack, understanding how to project manage, do quality assurance testing, user acceptance test, like all these processes you need to launch a product. Not saying NFTs aren't a product, but there's a lot more we can do with NFTs. A lot of teams aren't capable of. Well, I've got that capability, that background. So we built this really robust roadmap. We want to do some VX stuff that's gamified. It fits into our metaverse stuff, which is music focused, right? Like all of our metaverse parties have music, but we're also exploring what metaverse are we going to be using in the future. Well, now we have a sandbox estate. We're sandbox partners, so let's do sandbox avatars. So that became a roadmap item. And the bigger thing was, like, I was looking at stuff that I was using like day to day in the ecosystem. Like I stake tokens on DeFi platforms like crazy. I'm looking at those double-sided LP farms and finding that interest, on different networks too, not just Ethereum. I'm over on Terra. I'm over on Solana. I'm using Polygon. And one of the Polygon products I really liked was Aavegotchi. And I know you've talked to their team quite a bit. And I'm just like blown away with their ability to create a healthy tokenomic ecosystem that's built around NFTs and staking and different market mechanics. And they've got their ghost token, they've got their ticket token. They've managed to build like this healthy model. And I thought, we can do this. Like, we have the development acumen to build something like this. So while I say like, yeah, we're music focused, we still are to a degree, but it's more like we're not like a music company, even though we sold a record. Like I have a friend that runs a small record label, and I was like, like you've got like a stable of like 20 artists. I'm like, I've sold more albums than you this year. Like, I'm like, we sold them as NFTs and they're chiptunes, and I'm like, and it's just a weird dynamic. So like, but we're not a music label. We're not necessarily just a music NFT. So it's like we're
just music centric.
We are an NFT. We are a Web3 company that is audiovisual with our fingers in the metaverse and DeFi is what it boils down to. So real hard to distill, and maybe to some degree that's a fault. That being said, we are doing it all, and we are complete. Like, we're about to knock out this 15K VX collection. Like, no one's done that yet. Yeah. As a derivative of the 2 collection, and then all of our focus pours into the battle arena, which is basically a DeFi platform. So I think by the end of this year, I think the general conception around us will be like, oh, they're like an NFT DeFi brand. That being said, there will still be a metaverse component. We still plan to do these parties. We still plan to do music-focused stuff. I mean, our co-founder is a professional musician / artist, so it just fits. We are sort of a hodgepodge, but
well, it'd be different.
Kind of distills it down.
It'd be different if you guys weren't shipping anything and building things as well. I feel like you're just not getting caught in the quagmire of music NFTs not being a thing yet, in a way, right? Like, they're not mainstream yet, so why, kind of run in place?
It's hard. I would love if we could do that, like, but there's all these sort of dangling questions of like, what are music NFTs? Like, what does the model look like? How does it become both beneficial for consumers, people listening to the music, and the artists? Like, I really like what like Royal's doing, what Blau talks about with his different monetization approaches to both selling music and fractionalizing it for those that are participating. And like, what's the streaming platform that's sort of crypto focused, that's an alternative to Spotify? And I realized, like, well, Audience. We're not a platform. Like, we're not going to launch. Yeah, Audience, exactly. I'm like, we're not going to launch our own platform. Like, we were more hoping to be like an NFT label until we got friction from artists. So I guess it's more of a pivot, because we need to figure out like what makes this a viable business, and then continues to bring value to those that have been with us as collectors in the communities.
And it's places that we find value as collectors, right? Like Gabe introduced me to Aavegotchi, and we realized that this is such a cool project that if we could, take 2% of what they do and put a Bitlectro spin on it, and 2% of what another project does, put a Bitlectro spin on it, we kind of take we dip into our favorite parts of so many different elements that span from Web to, legacy companies and things that excite us over there, and then Web3 companies. We can kind of make a project that excites us still, which has been really cool.
Yeah, and I think our art's really fun. Like, if you mess with this style of art, like it speaks specifically to a certain demo. Like, Aavegotchi speaks to a certain demo, but like, it's also very simple and elegant what they've done. The universe we built is a little more robust, and we want to append that to sort of a lot of basic DeFi protocols that we already mess with. And like, none of what we're doing is new. Like I'm very good at stealing other ideas that are known to work in an ecosystem, and it's not theft. It's like
it's an artist.
Yeah, it's like what companies do constantly. It's like
it's what humans
taking
do.
a best practice. Yeah, exactly. Taking a best practice and building building a newer iteration, changing it 10% so that you can build a sustainable business out of it. So that's really what we're focused on.
I do want to plug Music Mondays. They've been teaching me a lot. We have a show here on Mondays from Louis C. Rhymes and Natalie Crew and Jared T, who host and talk about music and how it relates to NFTs. And I've learned a lot just being in their spaces and on the show, and they teach me a bunch. Art Start Now is doing the same thing for me in art in a way. So I do want to plug 2 of our shows, but I did have a quick question, and I completely lost it, so I'm not going to be able to answer. But tell me a little bit about what this VX release looks like from the holder's perspective, and we'll get to that question I forgot.
Yeah, it is a separate collection. Like, people are asking us, like, oh, am I just getting a VX picture? No, it's an additional NFT, so there'll be a whole new Dreamers VX on OpenSea, for example. Basically, once we turn the portal live, it'll be on our site, bitlectrolabs.com. You'll just be able to select whichever dreamer you're claiming for from a drop-down menu. Hit the mint button. It's zero fees to us. You will have to pay the small gas fee for the network. It is on Ethereum mainnet, and then you'll be minting the one-to-one recreation in VX form, and that'll show up on OpenSea, very similar to like the CyberCon. So we built a cool app where and you can actually, we'll share a link so you can go directly to the app and then look at your character. But you'll be able to drag the character. We actually have, I don't know if I want to spoil everything. There's a bunch of animations associated with it too. They are rigged. They are rigged so that you can, they do a bunch of things actually. So
can I say one thing on top of that? Asmodee's in the comments, who is a holder, he's saying, will the VX have a magic trick emote? I guess that's what you guys are talking about.
What's funny though is, like, within the Dreamers collection, there's some people that have like a helmet that has like a playing card attached to and stuff, and those are like my favorite. Yeah. And then now with our first collection, the Dream Loops, there's some secret team tokens that start to get revealed. Yeah. And if you find, like, there's one that's a magic one, and you know it's a magic one, and it's mine. So there's gonna be, I think, who knows? There could be down the line
that'd be something we'd have to animate like our mocap, something for magic. I'm trying to think how you would do that with crude voxels. It's not impossible.
Even like the card and the hat is so cool. Like, there's so much.
There's some magic call outs for sure. Because we obviously when we approached the collection, we had like a Notion board that was a bunch of like team suggestions, and pretty much like anything a team member wanted to put in the collection, it got added. So there's all sorts of like elements there that were a byproduct of Jason's interests or my interests or Brett's interests on the team. So it was pretty cool.
You made a point earlier.
No magic tricks.
You made a point earlier about your universe being like a little bit like larger, maybe. I wouldn't say larger than Avagachi, but you can tell like the characters are different. It's not just like a ghost and like a little bit. Tell me a little bit more about that lore beyond maybe a Notion page where the team was just hitting you with ideas. Like, what is the central theme around?
There are themes there. So we have a writer on our team too. So I'll give you like what our approach to the lore is going to be. So we mentioned this as a roadmap item that will probably be implemented later than we wanted, because we realized we wanted to build a platform that would accommodate the features. So we're going to give holders the option to edit flavor text on their Dreamers soon. The problem is we realized that, like, if you want to view like a property on OpenSea that has like a paragraph associated with it, like, it doesn't display correctly in the property, right? Like if it's a tag, if it's a piece of metadata, right? You could put it in the description, but then we would have to give up our collection description as that piece of metadata. So we need the app to be finished, like the basic Dreamland sort of platform, before we're allowing users to enter their own flavor text. But the idea is that there can be a little bit of world building there. It's not going to be a free for all. Like, you get to put anything you want in the flavor text. Like, we're going to be filtering it if you just start putting expletives in your descriptor. But we wanted to have some insight there. The backgrounds of the collection were written by Keel and myself, with the idea that we're defining sort of this universe. And then there, if you recall, there was like a little bit of a background as to what the Dreamers were. Like, they're waking up from like somnium sleep, and it's in the future, and they're battling in a post proof of work environment. So there is some loose There is some loose world building there. The dream loops do tie to the dreamers. They are set in the same universe. Um, and I mentioned that we have a writer. So our intention with the album, when we release the next album, so the first album, even like the cassette holders get the liner notes from the vinyl, and it has this beautiful. This one's sealed, but it has this beautiful booklet inside with like 500 different dream loops in it. And it's really fun to look at, hyper visual. So we thought, how about for the next one we release a zine, like it'll be like a quarter page zine, full color, and that full color zine that comes with the album will be lore. It'll be like world building that describes what the Dreamlands is and where all these characters came from. So we're going to do some loose world building with our team that defines some of those, right? So we've got our three base characters. They're green, blue, and purple. So it's the Azulians, the Zombos, and the Lavendians. So those are like your three core species, if you will. But then you also have dogs, you have cats, you have robots, you have a whole bunch of parody characters. You have like the classic, yeah, we have skeletons. We have another alien species that look more like the Greys, but they're brightly colored. So we have all these like different character types and things that come from seemingly disparate universes, but there is going to be like a thread that ties them together. And the other thing that also ties into like the balance components of what we're trying to do in the battle arena too. Like a lot of good games are like built in triads, like where there's like almost like paper, rock, scissors, right? But where one hurts another, but is hindered by the third. So the same sort of relation is going to exist with the three character types, and that was by design. And then
what's really nice about it too is like our community is so creative. We have so many different like tastemakers from different styles of art, whether it be a musician or a filmmaker or a poetry writer or whatever. So we have like a lore suggestions page within our Discord, and there's been great suggestions coming from our own community that is like kind of could be implemented into the final lore as it gets created.
Yeah, so we have some loose stories, but we want to borrow from our community and take insight once we're a little further on, and they'll see what we're building soon. Like we already have like the animation sheets, what you call sprite sheets, in production for like most of the collection. Like we have the base animations are done. We have some NPCs that we've created that our fans will see soon enough. Like there's gonna not only will there be PvP stuff, there's going to be like PvE sort of like big bad bosses that we do in like monthly. Yeah. So that's going to play into the lore, but it's kind of a lot of it's pop culture inspired. I almost want to say like part of it's almost like Ready Player One or Snow Crash to a degree, where it's like this hodgepodge of like influence, because we have a lot of parody. So
there is a lot of, I mean, there is a lot of parody, right? Like that's an interesting choice for you guys to make, because most PFPs or most NFT projects have relatively the same traits. Like you could maybe tell one from another, but know that they're part of the same. But your voxelized portion in the backgrounds, they kind of tie it in together.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's all aesthetically similar in tone, but like often disparate in origin, if you will.
It's cool.
It's gonna be cool.
Awesome. Guys, I'm going to let you kind of like chill a little bit more about anything we maybe missed as it's related to. Yeah, get ready, Jason. Go ahead.
You chill, Jason.
I don't know. I mean, like, so here's the thing: is that the next, basically 10 days or however long we have until VX drops is a really exciting time for us, because we're essentially entering this media run of sorts. It's like the celebration time. All the work's done. It's ready to go. So it's time to just celebrate with our community. So we're doing that as well on April 8th with another Crypto Voxels party. This one's going to be a big one, frankly. We're just getting ready to
Did you lock it down?
We could. They're sort of announced this. All right. So Oni Force is joining us for.
Shit.
And there's going to be a very special giveaway for everyone who attends.
Yes.
Which is going to be, we're not going to say what it is.
Yeah.
But it's really cool.
Good thing. Yeah.
So that's a big one. That's going to be a big celebration. Mumbai Science Bootbox is doing a set. Hearts Project's doing a community showcase. Yeah. There's so many cool things going on at that party. But it also spins into like more cross collaboration airdrops with more teams. We're chatting with a couple teams. We're getting added to some of our friends' games, which is really cool to have like a little Dreamers dip into their kind of game ecosystem they're building. There's a lot going on, frankly, which is really exciting. And the next 10 days is 20 more conversations like this, which is exciting, frankly.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. Like, it's like, yeah, we're like out here, trying to have as many conversations as possible. I'd come and chat with you every week if you let me, Q. But uh, the other thing is like we're still trying to promo this drop, but the drop is like it's a roadmap item. It's a free drop, right? That we promised. That being said, it is a full featured NFT collection, so it's like yeah, I guess we're still approaching it as if we're selling something, but we're giving this away basically. So it's kind of funny.
It's tough because you look at something like Kongs or like even Subducks with the King Frogs, where it was an airdrop, but there was an accompanying like a sale that went along with it, so you can treat it like a sale drop. That's what we did with the Dreamers. Yeah. But with this being like a purely free airdrop claim, the angle of promo is a little bit different. We're finding so, and it's not a good thing or bad thing. We're just, I think in the end, like in the long term, it's worth it because everything we're doing is very selective. We're partnering with the right people because the move is not just to like send a dreamer to every Twitter influencer. It doesn't do anything. The needle that you need to move is being on the floor like we are in New York, linking with these teams and chatting with people like yourself, frankly.
Q said you guys should show something when we started talking about marketing. Yeah, so the show is we've got a big Metaverse party April 8th. The Dreamers VX is April 9th. And then after that it's like we're just grinding on the Dreamlands Ballerina stuff. So that's the big shill. We should have our merch drop soon too. Actually,
and that'll have some. Then that's gonna have some cool things integrated as well.
That's gonna have a Decentraland tie-in. We've got.
There's this vibe as the NFT community gets larger that I feel where a bunch of projects like LADZ City and NFT Live and what you guys are doing with Bitlectro, Nifty Castle, all these other communities you guys are tied into. It feels like we're getting closer together in a way. Like it does feel like we're still there's like going to be some awesome interconnectedness as we move down into the future. I like feel that more than I did even a year ago when everyone was kind of just first getting their legs under them almost.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. And I think you have to we're still in a growing space that has lots of friction with mainstream adoption. And it's nice when teams are building together and elevating each other because for this to sustain and to grow, we need to double, triple, quadruple our user base. I mean, there needs to be 10 times as many users on OpenSea for this to be like viable at scale. Like, I don't think 10K profile pictures is the way to go. So it's forever, that is. So it's nice to see teams collaborating. And you don't always see this in tech-oriented communities.
That's true. Most of them walled gardens in a way. Yeah, that's a good point. Guys, we're gonna have to end the episode. We've gone an hour, and I know you guys had kind of a soft stop here as we come up, and usually this is a perfect time to stop it anyways. I do want to give a couple mentions. One is a lightning question from XPlow. He says, what do you think of the term meta world as opposed to metaverse? Unless you're tying into multiple platforms, is metaverse getting watered down? And then another comment here, they're saying Gabe should join NFT Live. So I don't know if you caught it, but we moved to like a more panel like style where we've got like 5 people on at once. But yeah, anytime you guys want to come on, definitely.
I'm down to jump on NFT Live anytime. Let's get that in the calendar, please. That's still my favorite NFT show.
Confirmed.
I'm always shocked. It's like, period. So meta world versus metaverse. Yeah, I think like I had a problem with the term Web3 even. Like these things are so undefined, and they get like I'm finding like some users are using Web3 interchangeable with like blockchain and cryptocurrency focused stuff, but like it's not quite that. Like we need to sort of operationalize a lot of this stuff, and like what does meta world look like versus metaverse. The other thing is like we're building this VX collection, primarily focused with like sandbox implementation in mind. But I had a conversation with an interesting team last night that was like, we can re-rig these for this platform that we're building. It's like, yeah, why shouldn't they be interoperable? At which point it's like, oh yeah, is this a meta world product or is this a bound metaverse product? I think we're still exploring what these terms are going to mean. Much like what does the internet mean? Like, there's technically a dozen or 100 protocols that ride on top of TCP/IP. Not to mention, there's other network protocols, but like what is internet, right? Is it a whole bunch of protocols? What is metaverse? Is it a whole bunch of protocols? I don't know yet, so
Yeah.
we'll see. Yeah.
A lot of unanswered questions. I remember trading NFTs or CryptoKitties back in the day, Jason, as well. And I thought to myself, this NFT, that'll never catch on. Non-fungible token, that will never. It surprised me that we're still saying it today, to be honest.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Again, this was the Nifty Q Show. I had Jason and Gabe in here today from Bitlectro Labs. They broke it down for us really well. You guys are, of course, building some amazing things. So, yeah, NFT live soon, Gabe. But last thoughts before we get out of here, and then we'll wave bye to the listeners.
Check us out. Find us at NFT LA. If you're around, come say what's up on the floor at the parties. We're trying to network as much as possible in the next few days and meet some cool people. Say
Yeah,
what's up.
we'll be at Warps tonight if you're out there. I think we're gonna go Sup Ducks later tonight. Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. So
awesome.
We miss you. We'll see you hopefully at NYC.
All right, I miss you guys too. Let's not get too emotional. I want one last thing from you guys. If you could say our vibe, our tribe. We're trying to put this like highlight together of everybody.
Our vibe, our tribe.
Our vibe, our tribe, baby.
Awesome. All right, guys, this was the Nifty Q Show. We are back tomorrow with Parallel, so catch you there at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard. Enjoy LA, fellas.
Peace.
Good day.